Steve Kastenbaum. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio Thursday announced a settlement in a long legal battle over the police department controversial stop-and-frisk policies, which a federal judge ruled violated the rights of minority residents.
Say that again because you're looking at me with great emphasis.
New York Mayor Bill de Blasio Thursday announced a settlement in the long legal battle over the police department controversial stop-and-frisk policies, which a federal judge ruled violated the rights of minority residents. What does that tell you? It was illegal.
I am going by what the Supreme Court says now. If they took it to a higher court, it could be overruled.
No, the Supreme Court is the highest court.
The Supreme Court is the highest
Yeah,
court.
but this federal judge ruled it violated. Let me read on. In addition to dropping the appeal of the ruling, the city will implement reforms aimed at improving strained relationship between police and the community. De Blasio, who targeted the policing practice during the mayoral campaign, and you know why? His wife is from the Caribbean. His son is black. So he understands now what it is to be profiled.
I'm sure. That's why he got elected.
But he understands now.
I understand that.
Because he has an experience with his son and his daughter.
I understand that.
And his wife is nudging him behind and say, you know, Bill, this is reality here, buddy. He succeeded. Michael Bloomberg called the settlement ending the Floyd versus City of New York case historic and said it closes the years-long legal fight that found the overuse of stop and frisk unconstitutional. De Blasio said 90% of the people who were stop and frisked were innocent of any crimes.
90%.
De Blasio said 90% of the people who were stopped and frisked were innocent of any crimes. They were profiled.
Profiled and criminalized, you know, because now
So
we're walking around.
I can profile you, and I can say, you know what? You look suspicious. What are you doing in this neighborhood? You thug. What are you doing here? Are you from urban or inner city? Where are you from?
No,
And
these projects are those projects.
but listen, all you have to say, I don't have to answer that question, officer. Are you detaining me, officer? Because there is this, I'm sorry, I got to get this laptop. This is the one with the audio. But there was this gentleman, being that he's a Caucasian gentleman, the police pulled him over, right? He wind his window down about maybe quarter of an inch, half of an inch, right? And the police tell him, wind down your window. He said, I don't have to, officer. Here's my license, registration, and insurance. He said, wind down your window. He said, I don't have to, officer. Being that it's a white guy, though. Right? So the officer asked him, he got his license. What's your last name? You can read it on the license, officer. Officer asked him another question. I don't have to answer that question, officer. And this is some of the things that they actually tell you. That you don't have to answer, because what the police is looking for, information, something in order to search your car, some reason, some bogus reason in order to search your car, or some bogus reason in order to get you out of the car. And so most of the time, it's a bogus reason. Most of the times. I'll be honest with you. Because look, if 90% of the people in stop and frisk were innocent of any crimes, think about when you're pulled over on the New Jersey Turnpike. They were saying there's no racial profiling. Remember they used to say, they were saying that?
Okay, that's where driving while black came from being on the
That's right. And they were saying there was no racial profiling. None at all. You speed, we pull you over. It wasn't like that. So what it is, Marjorie?
But I mean, you know what? You cannot deny that even though de Blasio is saying this, that the authorities still have they have the right to strip search you as well.
But Marjorie,
I'm not saying that it's
Marjorie,
right, but I'm
Marjorie.
saying they can do that.
But Marjorie,
You can pull
Marjorie,
out all the courts all
Marjorie, you can do whatever you want.
No.
You can do whatever you want, right? If you violate my rights, you should pay for it.
There are people whose rights you never get paid for because that's the authority that
So you saying the authority is okay for you to violate my rights because you're the authority?
It's something that is really. I don't know if there's to say there's something there's nothing you can do about.
Nothing. Yeah, you can do something.
There was another case that went to the Supreme Court, and this was just a couple of years ago, where a black man was stopped, put in jail for no reason, and was strip searched. And they said it was okay to do that.
I don't know about that, Marjorie. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. You got to find me that case. You got to find me that case.
Back to the other one, all right, where this is the original case, Terry versus Ohio. Look up. On October 31st, 1963, while downtown B, he had been patrolling for many years. This police officer, Detective Martin McFadden, age 62, saw two men, John Terry and Richard Chilton, standing on a street corner on Euclid Avenue and acting in a way that the officer thought was suspicious. McFadden, who was well known on the Cleveland police force for his skill in apprehending pickpockets, observed the two proceed alternatively back and forth along an identical route, pausing to stare in the same store window. Each completion of the route was followed by a conference between the two men on the corner. The two men repeated this ritual alternately between 5 and 6 times apiece. In all, roughly a dozen trips. After one of these trips, they were joined by a third man, Katz, who left swiftly after a brief conversation. Suspecting the two men of casing a job stick-up, Detective McFadden allowed them and saw them rejoin the third man a couple of blocks away in front of the store. The plainclothes officer approached the three, identified himself as a police officer, and asked their names. The men mumbled something, whereupon McFadden spun Terry around, patted down his clothing on the outside, and felt a pistol in his overcoat pocket. He reached inside the overcoat, but was unable to remove the gun. The officer ordered the three into the store. He removed Terry's coat, took out a revolver, and ordered the three to face the wall with their hands raised. He patted them down with the outer clothing of Chilton and Katz and seized the revolver from Chilton's outside overcoat pocket. He did not put his hands under the outer garments of Katz or under Terry or Chilton's outer garments until he felt the guns. The three were taken to a police station. Terry and Chilton were subsequently charged for carrying concealed weapons. The defense charged the individuals moved to suppress the use of seized weapons as evidence on grounds that the search and subsequent seizure were a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So this is what people are saying. You do not have the right to violate the Fourth Amendment or my Fourth Amendment. Though the trial court rejected the prosecution theory that the guns had been seized during an incident to an unlawful arrest, the court denied the motion to suppress and admitted the weapons into evidence on the grounds that the officer had cause to believe that these two guys were acting suspiciously, that their interrogation was warranted, and that the officer, for his own protection, even though he didn't have anything to do with anything, had the right to pat down their outer clothing and have reasonable cause to believe that they might be armed. The trial court made a distinction between an investigatory stop and an arrest, and between a frisk of the outer clothing for weapons. So here in the Warren Court, they ruled proper adjudication of cases in which exclusionary rule is invoked demands a constant awareness of these limitations. The wholesale harassment by certain elements of the community, which minority groups, particularly Negroes, frequently complain, will not be stopped by the exclusion of any evidence from the criminal trial. Yet a rigid and unthinking application of this rule and futile protest, which it can't be used to control, may exact a toll on human injury. So they say, yes, we know this is going to be a problem, but it is legal to stop and search someone.
That was in 1963.
Then you believe the Supreme Court is going to overrule its own thing?
I'm sure. No, I'm not sure.
This is the Supreme Court.
This
is a Supreme Court case.
But I'm not going to pronounce on that until I do some research.
Now, and
I doubt very much that that they can still do that in today's, because if they can still do that, they can stop and frisk you whenever they want.
That's
It's the
right.
same thing.
If they
But
they have some reason to suspect something, they have.
but
the right to do
Margie,
that.
but Margie,
I'm not saying it's right.
but Margie, here we have the city, New York City, is dropping the appeal. If they think they were right, they will go through with the case. They stop and
Yes, I'm listening to you.
stop and frisk, man. Is you know, at one time I was let me read some statistics. The data show that 685,724 stops made by police that year. That's 2011. The police department figure shows that nearly 9 out of 10 people stopped and frisked in 2011 were African American or Hispanics. Here is the numbers that I was telling you about. The data show that of the 685,724 stops made by police that year, 53% of those questions were black. 34% were Hispanic or Latino, 9% were white, and 3% were Asian. The citywide population in 2011 was 23.4% black, 29.4% Hispanic, 12.9% Asian, and 34.3% non-Hispanic and white, according to the report. One of the subjects of the stop appeared with Mr. de Blasio at Thursday's press conference. The first time Nicholas Pert, who is black, was stopped and frisked by a police officer, he was celebrating his 18th birthday. It happened 3 more times in the year since. Despite having never committed a crime, he said, it prompted him to become a plaintiff in the lawsuit. We have made some significant steps, said Pert, now 25. This is a small part of the larger battle that we have.
See, the thing is, here's a problem, Anselm. We keep insisting that we have rights, but we really don't.
No, we have rights.
And all of these rights, many of them guaranteed by
The Fourth Amendment.
Rights, don't really apply to us necessarily.
Yes, it does. It does.
Well, wait a minute. Someone said to me, as Obama said, this is the rule of law. And do these rules of law necessarily apply to all of us all of the time? Now, here's the case I was telling you about, and it's an amazing situation that something like this could even happen. You're listening?
Yeah, I'm listening.
So here's this guy. The case is called Florence v. Board of Chosen Freeholders. This is a U.S. Supreme Court case in which the court held, listen to this,
I'm listening,
that officials may strip search individuals who have been arrested for any crime before admitting the individuals to jail, even if there's no reason to suspect that the individual is carrying contraband. So you can be strict, even if they don't even think you have anything, they can do this. Now listen to this awful story. It's an awful
but Marjorie.
Check this out. Albert Florence was riding in a BMW sport utility vehicle in New Jersey, driven by his wife and their 3 children when she was pulled over for a traffic offense. The officer looked up Florence in the police computer database and discovered an outstanding warrant issued in Essex County, right here.
You have a right to stop him.
Florence had paid the fine, but the computer erroneously listed an outstanding warrant.
Okay, all right.
Sounds bad, right, already? Florence was placed under arrest in Burlington County and spent 6 days in jail before being transferred to Essex County's jail. At both jails, custody officers conducted a visual inspection of his body, instructing him to open his mouth, lift his tongue, lift his arms, and then lift his genitals. Florence went before a judge and was quickly released from jail. Florence filed suit against the 2 jails under this blah 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 section, alleging that his 4th and 14th Amendment rights had been violated. Florence argued that a person arrested for minor offenses cannot be subjected to invasion, 4th Amendment unreasonable searching, unless prison officials have reason to suspect concealment of weapons, drugs, or other contraband. A federal judge agreed.